This is Xander and this is Before the Journey, My Early Childhood, Part 9. Before I continue, may I remind you to please watch parts 1 through 8 before watching this video. If you start here, you're going to be entirely lost. I cannot stress that enough. So, before we get started, might as well get on that recap. You know what time it is. So in part 8, I told you how my vengeful mindset began and what triggered it. I also got into a little nostalgia, talking about a Goofy movie and the music video that was included before watching it and how cringy it was. I also discussed a little bit about the Macarena and how cringy that song was and having to learn the dance while I was still in grade school. And now that we gotten that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the story. But before I start right where I left off, I like to take a moment to rewind during the winter of 1995, Christmas time, and mention something I wanted to mention a lot earlier in part 8, but must have let it slip my mind. So we're going to wind to Christmas time of 95. In Christmas time of 95, I was in a daycare center. And I do recall being part of a play, a Christmas play, where we all sing, I guess a bunch of kids sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and then some of us kids were going to act out as the characters that are in the song. So you basically got me, I'm playing a small role as Pinocchio, and then you have the main people who are playing the main roles. You have none other than a boy playing Santa Claus, and surprisingly, a boy playing Mrs. Claus. Wow. And how they made a boy look like a woman, an elderly woman, is pretty impressive. Very impressive, actually. And then you had a couple of others playing some roles. And the whole idea of my role is when in the song they say, like Pinocchio, I am to jump off of a small stage onto the actual stage and reveal myself and just do that. It was pretty simple, and I thought it'd be fun. So we did rehearsals. Rehearsals were easy. I had a non-speaking role, so I didn't really care. I didn't really care. And I remember it. It was like, it was fun. My mom was very supportive with, me playing a small role because she used to do some acting when she was a little girl, which we'll get into later on in the prequel. And she thought, okay, this is pretty cool. So after rehearsing, figuring out costume and all that, the day came to do the play. My brother was there, my mom was there, and everybody was there and ready to do their part. It was just kids singing a song and kids acting as the characters through that song. So when it came to doing my part, I did it beautifully. Just a simple jump, quick reveal, bam. I'm good to go. And they had me wear a cone for a nose, like suspenders, a white shirt. I looked like a homemade version of Pinocchio, if you would if you would know, the vision, in your mind. Plus me being skinny, I kind of fit the role really well. And turned out to be a really nice play. Everyone was entertained. It was a quick play. It wasn't like a long play. And we did it for Christmas time. I had fun. Everyone else had fun. I kind of wondered and imagined how hot it had to been with all those clothes on for the two boys that was playing Mr. and Mrs. Claus. I mean, there must have been a lot of sweat having to wear those costumes, especially the one who had to play Mrs. Claus. That must have been hard. Oof. But they pulled off the roles really well and everyone was entertained. So, let's fast forward, now that we got that out of the way, to 1996. So the next semester of third grade started. And this time, I'm back to handling and dealing with those dumb bullies again. And may I remind you, a lot of the way I was acting, I kept it secret from my mom. I didn't want her knowing all the crap I was going through in school. So I kept that on the hush-hush. Yep, dealing with those bullies. Man, did I not like it at all. They were meaner, they were uglier, and I guess, they wish I wasn't even there. But one of those friends who would later try to toughen me up, but it wouldn't work so well, probably didn't agree with what they were doing, which to me was a bit of relief. So one day, one of the bullies, which is actually a girl, excuse me for that noise, which was actually a girl, wounded herself. She got wounded. She got scarred. She got a band-aid. And I'm like, a moment where one of my bullies is weak. And she's hurt. And even though she's a girl, I don't hit girls because my mother would whack me upside the head or give me a piece of her mind. This was my golden opportunity to take revenge. It was payback time, I thought. And she had a price to pay. So what did I do? I made fun of her. I laughed and I said, ha 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 ha, you got hurt. She got angry real quick. And what she do? She runs off. She tells the teacher just like I did. Teacher does something about it. Said, Chad, stop making fun of her. That's not right. And I'm thinking, you do something about it with her, but not with me. She got angry. She got mad at me. I saw the look on her face. Bam! Your price is now paid. That's what you get for treating me like trash, I thought. That's what you get. It's not nice when someone aggravates you, isn't it? It's not nice to be angry now, isn't it? It's not nice when someone's rude to you now, isn't it? I thought in my head. That is what you get. It didn't matter the teacher got on my case. Her getting angry, I got enjoyment from it. I made fun of her. I ridiculed her. And I treated her as trash just like she treated me. And I enjoyed every bit of it. And I thought, one down, many to go. Let's see how many of these kids I can make pay a price for how they treated me. And just that little taste of revenge and enjoyment. I would want more. I enjoyed it. But technically, I did not know what I was getting myself into. I didn't. I didn't at all. And to be honest with you, my anger for these bullies was going to be top of the line. I was sick of it. I reached my boiling point. This is where you now know that the part 8 had me showing the triggers. Now this is the action. I get home. I don't tell my mom what happened. I don't tell her what I did because I didn't hit the girl. What does it matter? I humiliated her. I ridiculed her. I gave her exactly what she deserved, I thought. And you see, making fun of someone and making them feel bad when they treated you like trash, in my mind, was justice served. But maybe I should have rethought that. And looking back now, yeah, I should have been a little more sympathetic. I think what would have been wise during this time, and now I'm speaking as the adult mindset, it should have been to kill them with kindness. But when you live the life I live, killing with kindness is not acceptable. And back then, I wanted every one of my bullies to pay a price. I was tired of it. And even though I didn't really say curse words back then, I did think them. And a lot of the things I thought about dealing with these bullies is it's not nice, and excuse me, and y'all know I'm going to curse, but I need to tell you how my original mindset was. And a lot of what I was thinking was basically, it's not nice when someone treats you like shit now, doesn't it? It's not nice to fuck with people, isn't it? You have treated me like shit for a very long time, and I would think these things. I wouldn't curse out loud back then, but I would think it. Because, like I told you in part 8, I had no sympathy for them. I wanted nothing to do with them. But I had to deal with them, and that's what got on my nerves. So back to the story. So, after taking revenge with that girl, I figured, okay, well, her price is paid. I will move on from her. You see, that's how I used to think. Once they paid their price, I leave them be. Unless they do something to me again, I leave them be. Don't do anything else to them. The job is done. Leave well enough alone. I got my enjoyment. They paid their price. let's move on to someone else. So, it's getting close to probably the end of third grade. And maybe living in the apartment area. And I do recall one of the kids, or one of the bullies, and I got into a very unpleasant debate. He sits down, we get into a conversation, and he mentions, have you heard about the Big Green Five? And I look at him and I'm like, and he talked like this, he's like, have you heard about the Big Green Five? And I'm like, no, but I've heard about the Big Green. The Disney movie with Police Academy's Steve Guttenberg, as well as Short Circuits, and The Wonder Years' Olivia DeBeau. Is that what you mean? No, I'm talking about the Big Green Five. Have you heard about it? I'm like, no, I haven't, and I don't believe there is such thing as the Big Green Five. Because if there was, there'd be a Big Green 2, 3, and 4. Well, there's such thing as the Big Green Five. And I'm like, you're really going to want to annoy me, aren't you? You're really going to want to annoy me. You piece of garbage. You piece of shit. You're going to want to annoy me. I thought. There is a movie called The Big Green Five. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, no, there's not. At first I believed him. Until my friend said, there's no such thing as the Big Green Five. And I'm like, you're lying to me. And when I disagreed with him, he hit me. Said something to teacher. Teacher got on him. He got angry. And I'm like thinking, hit me again, you fucking punk. I'm going to punch you in the mouth. There is such thing as the Big Green Five. I'm like, no, there's not. There was a movie, a Disney movie called The Big Green. It has soccer in it. It came out last year. And you're an idiot for mentioning something that didn't exist. So, I was angry. I had a lot of cuss words that I wanted to spill in front of this kid. But I knew if I started something, or if I finished it off, even though he hit me, I would have gotten in trouble just as much. And the teacher would have had both of us, maybe me, go to the principal's office. Then I'd have to deal with my mom, and the secret of taking revenge would have been spilt. So everything I felt, I had to think in my mind. This kid was a punk. Okay? He was a punk I had no sympathy for. But like the girl, like I said earlier, now I'm going to speak as the adult mindset. I should have realized he had a lot of personal problems up here. I don't really know the kid's name, but I knew he talked like this. That's what I remember about him. He talked just like this. Maybe a little different, but he talked just like this. And he basically bullied me by being annoying. But during that time, I did have a friend who was just along the same mindset as me and correcting them. And he told me straight up, like, you need to stick up for yourself. And I'm like, yeah, no. He said, dude, you really need to stick up for yourself. And I thought, if you knew how my mother was, you'd probably think differently. He knew what I was going through. A girl with glasses knew the same thing. Both of them knew what I was going through in that class. I think the only thing I enjoyed more of, really, is the fact I wouldn't have to return to this class. And that's what I would enjoy more, is not returning to this class. Because what I didn't know is I was once again moving during the summertime. Maybe beforehand, but when the summer started, probably in May or either June, I would be gone. My mom would make sure I finished third grade. She wasn't going to leave me hanging on that one. But I would be gone by the time summer starts. Yep, we were leaving the apartment. But what we were moving into was the home that would be like our childhood home. Or what we thought would be our forever home. And my mom finally was able to buy a new house. We never really chose our room that time. My brother and I were assigned a room. We weren't, I guess my mom didn't feel like we were old enough to move in to choose a room. And my brother and I had to share a room because, my aunt was moving in with us. So, with that said, when we went to go look at it, my mom said, "This is going to be y'all's room." And we knew for sure we were moving again. The apartment wasn't going to last long. And out of all honesty, I was going to miss the apartment life. Especially during the summer of '95 going in that swimming pool. My mom went all out when we went to the pool. The noodles, the old noodle floats back in the day. Yep, she went all out. And that's how we were living. We were living really good for ourselves. We'll leave even better when we moved into this new house. This new house was going to be off of a street called Timberwood Drive. And we were going to be moving in once the lease was up of the apartment that was close to Egypt Lake during the summertime, like we did back in early '95 or summer of '95. I was going to miss the school, just walking there, but what I wasn't going to miss was the bullies. But just when I thought, and I'm going to be real with you, that the whole bullying thing would end, I had another thing coming. You see, my brother and I, when we moved into this house, we weren't going to have the same elementary school anymore. My brother was going to have his school, I was going to have mine. Okay? He was going to go into a different grade school than me. And I was going to go into the 4th grade, going into a grade school, which would be my last grade school going into, close to Gunning Highway. And I have to admit, this grade school was going to bring a lot of memories. But it was also going to bring later, and you'll take notice of this later on, the start of my vengeful side getting worse. A lot worse. And the consequences were going to gradually get worse. Because you have to remember, me being a kid, I did not like bullies. And I would have to face them continuously. But what I should have realized is that maybe these bullies were jealous of me, or there had to be other reasons why they were bullying me. I was also, later down the line, you'll take notice that I would find the enjoyment of making friends with bullies. And you'll find that out later how I did that. I would also experience my first little fling with a girl. And I would go through some other experiences. So, summertime came. I passed the third grade. And we ended up moving to the new house. We went back to the apartment later down the line, but I'm not going to get to that yet. But we moved into the new house. My brother and I didn't do much because we were still young and maybe not old enough to do a lot of the heavy lifting. But we did have to help out. We did have to, straighten the place out, clean it up, and get ready to go. This house on Timberwood Drive would be the house that I would live in with my mom, my brother, my aunt, and some other people, as well as my stepdad, for the next, from age 9 to 16. And yes, my stepdad moved in with us this time instead of coming over to visit, because he actually helped my mom buy the house. So he was staying with us even though my mother and him were not married yet. Okay. I had nothing against their love. I really didn't. And furthermore, what they did was none of my business. But in a Christian standpoint and speaking, and I'm about to say something I believe in personally, not pushing in my beliefs on you, nor am I shoving them on you. I'm just saying what I believe in. But in a Christian mindset, when you are unmarried, you should not be living together. But we weren't of God. So technically, they did it anyways. But I think if we were going to church during that time, and we were doing the whole godly perspective, my stepdad wouldn't have moved in with us. He wouldn't have. They would have waited till they got married. And there's a reason why you cannot, in a Christian standpoint, why you can't live together when you're unmarried. Now, I have had friends who resisted temptation from living with their significant other before marriage. And there has been friends I've known who've done that and succeeded. But not everybody does. Because when you're staying with the person, you're living with the person, it leads to temptation. When you're sleeping with the person, it leads to temptation. And that's one of the things a lot of people don't understand, and then temptation gets worse. And in this case, what I didn't realize, the temptation between them would get worse, and the consequences, like I said in part 7, would bite them where it hurts. But technically, I couldn't stop their love. I didn't want to stop their love at that time because my stepdad was awesome. And like I said, this person was probably the closest to my mother's love for life. It's just things were a little bit different, and there's things that should have been, but really wasn't. And I can't really change the past, but I'm hoping anyone who's watching this can learn why, in a Christian standpoint, why you shouldn't live with a person if you're not married to them. Now, if you're living with someone and you're in love and all that, that's on you. That's your decision, but me being of my faith, I have to keep certain things in mind. Because I did fall into temptation. And you'll find that later down the line when I get back into the original. So, we moved in, all of us together, into now Timberwood Drive. This is the end of apartment life. This is the last part. Y'all take care. God bless you. And I look forward to part 10 where I start talking about Timberwood Drive. Bye-bye and God bless you.